So this tutorial is about how to bring LIDAR into your hands. What I'm going to do is load up a LIDAR it's of a river called the Cairns River, and it's pretty, pretty flat. Um, and to give you an idea of the height ramp, it's the elevation. Let's go to edit colors. Whoop, get to it. Colors, height ramp. If you click on the default here, it creates a nice color. Hold down the Alt and it shows you. So the reds are high, but you want to exaggerate this. So if you go to multiple scale in engineering, we exaggerate usually the elevation scale in the Z, which is the vertical. And I'm going to go 1.5 times, just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So it exaggerates it slightly enough to really get the terrain around the river. And this is the Cairns River, and this is actually a Portage route, an ancient Portage route that we're working on. And so this is a point cloud. It's give you an idea. Let's go back to the yellow green, and go into the property. Here's the 1.5 million points. Let's go back to my colors again, my height ramp. And set it by default again. So what I'm going to do is what's called first, in order to do a 3D mesh, you have to compute your normals, and that allows the points to create a surface model of a plane properly. It only takes a few seconds. I'll just pause the video. So now we're just about there, and creating it. And you'll notice that the colors go away here once I create the mesh. So under mesh, max edge, keep it at 0, and go no to this because you've already done the normals, and then it triangulates and creates the mesh. So then it goes black, okay? And so you got an extracted mesh here. You could save it out, but I really like to play around with it and see. So this is called ambient occlusion. I make 512 and 256 render for the constant context resolution. Click OK. Just give it a minute, and you'll get a nice advanced hill shaded type look and feel with ambient occlusion. And it's this little button called PCV in the right. So I'll just pause the video. Okay, we're almost there. And the reason I want to show you this is that you can extract this texture by rendering to a file before we export this nice shaded. So look at the shade, the beautiful relief hill shade. It's like an advanced hill shade. Okay, and so I'm going to go into the top view here. Just show you. Cloud Compare doesn't export this shader view. It's you'll notice the roads and the map. So what I'm going to do is in here render to file. Okay, I'm just going to put it in the folder where I'm working on this. I'm going to call it Lender Top Cairns, because that's the. And if you go into PNG, it's you won't have any lossy compression, so I prefer that one. And I always go up the scale to at least 3500 area, 3615, which is good. And voila, in the bottom it tells you it's extracted. So now you're ready to take the mesh and save it out. And sometimes it doesn't default. We're going to call it the Cairns 3D print. And we're going to use, instead of OBJ, FBX, okay, in that same folder. Okay? And FBA binary is fine. So then, so that's the first program, 3D Mesh. Another thing I'm going to do before the back here and rotate this again after I set the pivot. Let's try this again here. Let's go in and delete half this. There we go. Delete. There we go. Okay. Voila. Okay. Oop. Try that again. Make sure it's got it all deleted. Okay. So I'm only going to use this part for 3D printing. 3D printer is usually a square or rectangular base. So this one I print in, just like any mesh, you can scale the mesh if you want to exaggerate this and that. So I'm going to exaggerate it another 200% in the vertical, just to give it some exaggeration. Now, this is the trick in this tool. And at this point, I like to save my train. So I'm going to put it in this folder. I'm going to call it Canes 3D. And I'm going to convert this to what's called an editable poly. And I'm going to grab, what's great about editable poly is a lot more advanced tools and editable mesh. It's just a way of, because you'll see with editable poly, let me go into, it's hard to see, but you'll see a vague red line right here. It's called the border. And that borders the whole in there. Good. So now we've got the rectangle. We've got the terrain here and the rectangle. I'll make the rectangle a little bit brighter so you can see the different. Take off the grid so you can see what's going on here. So I'll tell you a little trick. I'm going to save that as another increment in case I mess it up. So we have a neat little utility called Terrain and Max. I'll show you here. It's under the compound. It's 3D compound. It's called Terrain. And what you can do is pick your other object, and it makes a nice terrain. Now you got to go in here, get a solid. Play around with the parameters here. Stitch border. I think I want to keep the same. Retriangulate. No, keep the same. And so once you've done that, then you can right-click, collapse that to editable poly. And what I want to do is get rid of everything but the top. So I can go in and grab all the polygons except the inside and go edit, invert, delete. So then I'm just left with the box. Now there's some in here, still in here, but I'm just going to leave those. I'm going to undo that for a sec. I think I'm going to leave it there. So then take the box, bring it up to match your terrain. So then you've got a nice box for, and I think I'm going to try to get rid of these though. Let me go back to this, try to get rid of these, delete, without affecting surface of, and the back. I think we're good now. Yep, so now you're good. Save at this point. There's a lot of, I'm going to delete this, just in case they end up affecting my 3D print. There, make sure everyone help. So that creates a nice block. So then I'm saving this. Okay, so another thing too. So what I'm going to do is attach these two models together. So now they're one model. When you render, if I render this, not just how my computer is handling the shade, but we can see that it's pretty the same model. So again, what I prefer always with these models is collapse it all. I've got some previous saves, and then export that with to the STL format right here. I'll call this Kane's 3D print. Make sure it's the STL. Okay, and I'm just going to say this as an increment in case it's out. And I'm going to go into pause. This third software is the final part. You import your STL. This is the easiest spot. So we're bringing in the Kane's 3D print. Now you imagine this is real world scale, so you're going to bring it down to a very small pad. So you're going to have to scale this down to at least 7%. 17 would be pushing it. You can go a little bit more, but this is your 3D print. Notice the quality of the with the reduced scale. So I always do a trial first. For infill, you can do spark. You can actually do a hollow print with this low resolution. My recommendation is put a hole in the bottom and fill it with foam, to keep it stable. You can increase the wall thickness. But again, I always do a prototype first and then slice it. And what slicing does, it's just like when you're 3D printing, it's like spaghetti. It does layer by layer, and I'll show you the build. It doesn't take long with this software to show you the 3D print build. So it'll go in and start, do a grid, hollow grid, and go up and fill your 3D print. And then if you look, it's going to take 30 grams of filament in 1 hour, less than an hour and a half or so. I've done one in an hour and a half. Kane's 3D print. It's a G code, and that goes to the printer. And voila, you've got the 3D print. And that's the 101 on how to bring LIDAR into your hands.